And this is what a witches' Sabbath was. It is world-class paganism. That's a committed paganism. Oh, let's do that. Classical Rebellion. John, what are we doing tonight?
Well, welcome to the Rebellion headquarters.
Rebellion headquarters.
We're here to give you a complete rundown of forthcoming events.
So we're going to start in Central Europe via Monterey. So we're gonna go to Central Europe, but we're gonna go through Monterey, California, to get there.
That's right.
Yeah, because Monterey Symphony has their opening concert coming up.
And you know what? We know the way to Monterey.
We do know the way to Monterey. Is it San Jose? It's San
For
Jose.
our purposes, it's Monterey.
October 19 and 2019, they have their first concert of the season, and the programming is Hector Berlioz,
the Roman Carnival Overture, Le Carnaval Romain.
Antonin Dvorak, Romance for violin and orchestra.
And a fantastic symphony.
A fantastic symphony.
The Symphonie Fantastique.
With the Witches' Sabbath.
That's right. There's lots to talk about that.
There's a lot to talk about. But let's talk about Encoda.
That's right. A word about our sponsors.
Encoda is an app that you can use on an iOS device or Android, and it only has right now, it's limited to about 110,000 pieces of music.
Or another way to express that limitation is about 30 million pages of music.
That's right. So you can explore 30 million pages of music for $9.99 per month. I think I'm enjoying it immensely. And
you have publishers, but these are fresh scores. They're not like not like IMSLP scores with markings on them that have been scanned. These are fresh digital scores from Baron writers, from
Boozy and Hawks. Right?
I think Boozy.
Yeah, Ricordi.
And
Novalis,
major publishers. In the business, you do see a lot more people using their digital devices in lieu of a score. I mean, you can write on it, you can make notes on it with an electronic pen device. I love my paper scores, but it's we're moving in a different direction at the moment.
You're getting turned.
We're moving in a different direction. So Encoda, give it a try.
Nkoda. So I think, John, the mayor of Monterey is probably going to be at this concert.
Or is it I'm thinking the Viceroy of Nueva España. I mean, it is Monterey after all. Oh, no, okay, different Monterey.
Okay.
Yes, the mayor of Monterey.
Yeah. I'm guessing, if I were to venture a guess, I would say the mayor of Monterey is going to be at one of these two opening concerts in October.
I hope so.
But I want visual reinforcement, not just confirmation. We're not trying to shame anyone.
No,
but we definitely, if the leader of the city is there supporting the arts, I think the world should know about it.
Government leaders supporting the arts can be a bit like Tales of the Yeti, though. I mean, I'd like to see it for once. I want to see it.
Yes. So hashtag Monterey Mayor on Instagram. Let's see if we can
let's make this a campaign.
25.
Get American mayors out to the opening of the symphony concert.
Yeah. Because
the symphony season.
To have a beautiful community, you need beautiful music. So share this. Email the link to your mayor. Well, you're a big fan of the Roman Carnival Overture.
I am.
I think.
I am. It's a very interesting piece. I would venture to say that you have the morning scene at the beginning of the overture.
Right.
The Rome is waking up, and then you have these two wonderful gusts of wind, these piccolo roulades going off, and then coming back. And I really think. I know it's a roulade. It's great. I don't know if that's a horn term. I don't know if you can
maybe just
apply it to
piccolo.
piccolos. But anyway, I would venture to say that there has not been, or there was not, another more evocative depiction of a breezy gust of wind between that orchestral gesture in 1844 and Benjamin Britten's sea interludes from the opera Peter Grimes, the music depicting the Suffolk seashore, and you can just see if you can feel the salt in the wind blowing the grass, over the dunes of Suffolk. It's absolutely evocative. And so is that. And I think that it relates to Berlioz's music. Berlioz has a breezy quality in his music that is undeniable.
Yeah.
He is.
Yes.
He moves like
Absolutely.
He moves like the wind.
Yeah.
And with the sudden, I mean, if you want to go a little further, if you were watching a murmuration of starlings, and the way either a group of birds in flight or a large group of fish will just change directions on a dime, like this.
Right.
Berlioz's music does that. It's chimeric.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
and I think it's a wonderful way to start a season.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Bravo, Monterey, programming-wise.
It's a great program. It's a great program. What a lot of people don't know, I think, about the Roman Carnival is that it was premiered 6 years after his opera Benvenuto Cellini, and takes music from that rather unsuccessful opera.
This is still early Berlioz. This is Opus number 9.
Yeah, it's
and what was
that's right.
Cellini was
Benvenuto Cellini was Opus 3.
Okay.
He set right out with trying to do big things, but the Roman Carnival, I mean, it's always been hugely successful, and what rhythmically vital and with sudden outbursts, very Italianate in that way.
Yeah.
You know? I mean,
well, he'd spent 3 years.
Italians.
He'd spent 3 years in Rome after winning the Prix de Rome at the Paris Conservatoire.
Right.
You know, they would send the winner of that prize to Rome, to the Medici Villa in Rome for 3 years. And Debussy went. There's a ton of French composers who went and did that.
Another interesting thing about the opera Benvenuto Cellini is it's an example of a piece like Carmen later, which started out as an opera comique. The libretto was composed and proposed and rejected, and so they morphed it into an opera, into an opera semiseria.
Got it.
And the opera was not successful, but the music clearly was worth keeping because he made a lot out of it. Yeah.
And then we're on to Dvorak Romance for violin. The violinist here is the concertmaster of the Monterey Philharmonic. Will be playing the solo. Christina Mock, I believe, or Mock? M-O-K.
Mock, I guess. Yeah. The Dvorak, Dvorak is just lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a lyric gift that is so Central European and heartfelt, but slightly modal. It goes always going from the major down to the relative minor and back to major.
It creates a longing and nostalgia, like a nostalgia for something you never even really maybe experienced, but it just...
Well, you can feel the deep woods of Central Europe in Dvorak's music. I mean, it's there. There's a richness.
Yeah. And you were saying this borrows. It's another borrow. The main... melody.
The main melody is taken from one of the melodies in the string quartet number 5 in F minor.
If you'll recall my conversation with the Miro Quartet, and I asked which quartet should we explore as audience members that would kind of get passed over, they said Dvorak. Besides the American, the Dvorak string quartets are where we should be living for a little bit. And based on this romance, I would say I have to agree.
Well, this is his lyric gift.
Yeah. Let's talk about that Symphonie Fantastique.
What a fantastic symphony. It really is.
A little bit based on truth.
Absolutely based on truth.
Because when Berlioz was in Rome, the woman that was in his mind,
he fell in love.
Became engaged to someone else.
He fell in love with Harriet Smithson.
Right.
And he fell for her really, really hard. And she was an actress, Shakespearean actress doing Hamlet in Paris. He fell really hard. Wrote this. He wrote letters to her. She wouldn't answer the letters. She never met him. He then writes this piece.
Right.
Absolutely devastated with love, and I'm sure.
But in between, becomes engaged, and he leaves Rome disguised as a peasant woman, procures a firearm, and is going to kill the betrothed of his beloved. And that's where he doesn't do it, right? He stops. He never gets there. It becomes a story for posterity. But this idea of this trip he goes on about marching to the gallows and all of that, I'm sure it was going through his head that, okay,
if I do this...
He's really actually contemplating murder. He's on the road to murder.
Well,
this is who Hector Berlioz was.
The piece itself is, is described as being proto-psychedelic, because he supposedly wrote it had the vision of it under the influence of laudanum, opium.
Yeah.
And Bernstein said about it that he said Berlioz got it right. You take a trip and you wind up crying at your own funeral, and that's the whole that's the what do they call it, the Schenkerian analysis, the condensed analysis of the trajectory of the Symphonie Fantastique. Of course, the March to the Gallows, the famous use of the Dies Irae.
Mm-hmm. How old is that? 1,000 years?
Oh, probably about.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ancient. It's probably as a chant piece. It's probably from just after the millennium.
Okay.
Around then, but it's something that has been used in so many other. As a cantus firmus. Below other melodies.
It sneaks into the Rhapsody on a Theme by Paganini by Rachmaninoff.
Yeah, he used it.
Yeah.
And in order to give it its this drug-infused, psychedelically tripping character as he's preparing to go to his death for his beloved up the gallows, it's the interesting thing that. You won't hear this if you go to the concert because we don't use this instrument anymore, but it's usually played in the low brass like trombones. Berlioz had it played on an instrument called an ophicleide. And an ophicleide is like a combination of a brass instrument and a saxophone, and it has a very nasal quality. So it was
very psychedelic, yeah.
And you can hear it if you listen to the Roger Norrington recording with the London Classical Players.
Okay.
He uses original instruments, narrow bore brass, and ophicleides, and it's creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really a great piece for Halloween.
I want to talk about the Witch's Sabbath because the Witch's Sabbath is a part of that procession. And what a Witch's Sabbath is. Now, I'll first state that there's no evidence anywhere that a Witch's Sabbath actually ever occurred. However, if it did, this is what would happen. This is the Night on the Bald Mountain is also describing Witch's Sabbath. So the witches would make their brew on the mountaintop or in the woods, deep in the woods, and they would brought a kid with a baby goat, a young adolescent goat with them. And as they're becoming ecstatic, Satan himself, Lucifer, would come and inhabit the goat and then choose the woman of his pleasure. And she would come service him.
And we're not talking about like washing the windshield and checking the tires.
I think you know what I'm talking about.
This is a full service.
A lot of people respect classical music, but we love classical music. So if we come off as disrespectful, please understand we love this art form. This is what a Witch's Sabbath was. It is world-class paganism. That's a committed paganism.
Not even just paganism, Satanism.
Lucifer has inhabited this goat, and now this goat is going to.
Well, that's why why Mussorgsky's piece is so great.
It is.
What a depiction. But but this is another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it begins. It begins with a flurry and it becomes, tempestuous and ends so quietly. And this,
Yeah.
But another thing about the Symphonie Fantastique, though, that's worth noting is that it has a sequel. It has a sequel called Lelio, which is a musico-dramatic piece for narrator and soloists and orchestra. Lasts about an hour. And he wrote it in about 1843 or 4 because Berlioz ended up marrying Harriet Smithson. She did meet him. She was impressed. She heard the piece, came to understand that this guy's a genius and a heck of a composer.
That helps.
They got married. It didn't work. But but there was a subsequent
Really,
piece.
it didn't work.
It didn't work. Somehow or another, that just didn't work out.
He's just going to stay married to
Well,
the guy who goes into disguise and leaves.
He's in there composing all night long, and she's going, Hector, when you get a minute,
Composing with the opium.
Yeah, but Lelio was not successful, but he groups it clearly with the Symphonie Fantastique. It's called, its subtitle is The Return to Life. And it's how he gets over it, came to assuage himself with literature and music, and then to find peace.
And so he finds his solace and redemption through
art. The arts.
Sound familiar?
Hector was
what we're trying to do. I'm telling you, I don't want to know who I am without classical music. I'm not kidding.
I know who I am with classical music, and sometimes it scares me.
Yeah.
But anyway, definitely.
That's a solid opening concert to any season.
Oh heck, there's lots in it.
Yeah. It's got this.
And if you want to hear the conclusion, you go home, you put on YouTube, you look up Lelio, and you listen to it. And it's all on there, and see what Hector had to say about it.
See if you become redeemed via.
And you find peace.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.